we're going to start off by responding to the submitted questions that have been sent in via our website. I will be delivering an inspiring message for all from the Starseed Oracle shortly, and the topics we are discussing today include surrogate healing. This is where a client requests healing for another. So we're also discussing tips to access the subconscious and the benefits of time as a medicine for the body. So in the Facebook page, we had a question where a member commented that Dolores Cannon had once said that there are no negative aliens and that no abductions were negative. What do you think about that, Chris? You've had some experience of doing alien type regressions, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I've got my own experience. It started out a bit freaky because I didn't understand what I was looking at, but and what I was seeing. But I quickly grew accustomed to what I was seeing, and there was nothing sort of. They were kind of busy, you know, too busy. Where I was and where I went to, yeah, they were just, that wasn't on the agenda, if you know what I mean. No negative, no abductions. Everything was by consent. So, you know, that's just from my perspective. I can't say that people haven't had negative experience because.
And can you describe the beings that you had your experience with?
Yeah, they were praying mantis people.
The praying mantis.
Yeah, it's the most, because I went into that. I mean, maybe we'll leave a link to the book under the video, but yeah, my first encounter, because it wasn't only one. I seemed to keep on going back there, and then after through 2 sessions, my first session, I'd misinterpreted something, and then I had a second session, which actually took me back to the same spot where I was a bit more immersed in the image. And this time, it took me back there because there was something I didn't understand correctly from the first session. So, and, you know, to me, it's solid evidence that we've really working with something that, because I had no idea that anything needed correcting. I thought I'd moved on. But I literally went back to the same place and saw it from a different perspective and come out with a slightly different view of the scenario. But my own experience was not negative. I think the problem is that we've been kind of conditioned to panic under certain conditions, if you know what I mean. So the idea of sleep paralysis, for instance,
things that we don't understand. Yeah. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, that was kind of freaky. Because I didn't know what I was looking at, first of all. Just this light coming out of this, what seemed like a head. I thought the light was its eyes, so I assumed the head was huge. But then, as soon as the picture became more clear, I realised that was like nostril holes, that actually they're light beings, and there was white light shining out of their nostrils. So that was quite that was quite bizarre. You know,
wow, white light shining from their nostrils.
Yeah, and they were sort of, I got the impression that they were in an exoskeleton. They were light beings in an exoskeleton that appeared solid.
So it's more like a sort of armour kind of.
Yeah.
It appeared like something that they were wearing rather than what they actually were.
Yeah, but then obviously they were able to control that entity, you know. They were able to control
how they appeared.
Yeah. but that suit that they was in, we're all in bio suits, aren't we? It's a biological interface between consciousness and this world. That's what a body is, and their body, I assumed they were like that because of different densities that they had to experience. I'm not so sure about that now, but yeah, my own experience was not negative in the slightest. I was kind of freaked out by looking at this giant, what appeared to be a 7-foot insect, they don't like that word, the giant praying mantis. Yeah, it was really bizarre. And the strangest thing with that experience, while I was in deep trance, was that I don't think I was actually one or in the body of one. I seemed to be possibly like an orb of light. I don't know how true that is, but I was a point of consciousness anyway that seemed to have the ability to move through the craft out into the environment and go down and scout about. And I even had the ability to go into creatures which were present in the scene I was viewing.
So did you go actually into any of the praying mantis people,
No,
and were you able to sort of feel them out, kind of thing? Because like one practitioner had commented on the Facebook page that they'd had a client and they talked to greys.
Oh, right.
And they said that the greys were definitely negative because the communication was that they were trying to destroy the client's mission. And another one had talked about blue avians.
Oh yeah, I've spoke to an avian, yeah.
And they said that they were benevolent and angelic. They didn't sort of feel that there was anything negative coming from them. But yes, I haven't had any alien experiences myself, so...
No, clients that went actually back to seeing such entities?
No, I mean, I had a client that definitely moved off of the Earth, and they were definitely in space, and they were able to observe what was going on every single planet, and they described it as having some sort of, I don't know, like tool, like telescope or something like that. But the way that they were able to zoom in, it was very, very precise. It was perfect. They could see everything in detail. And after the regression had finished, they actually said to me, I know what all of the conditions are on loads of different planets. I can tell you what the temperature's like on Pluto, on Venus. And he said, because I looked at them through my tool.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, well, I just seem to be a point of light. I mean, the thing is, I had never heard of such an alien. And that's not the correct term either. They're extraterrestrial. They're just part of this realm. They're extras. And they prefer to remain in the background because they know what man is like and what's running the show, if you know what I mean. But I felt like I seemed to go into the craft and then into the center point. And then I was kind of like, when the practitioner was asking me, what do you see? And I'm like, I'm still trying to figure it out, you know what I mean? I've actually got pictures, and I will share the link to the book, and I'll send you those links as well, but, just for reference, because it's pretty insane, really. But, yeah, just a point of consciousness, I had gone into the craft, downloaded something, or that's what it felt like, gave information. I even had one of the ETs look around at me, and when you can tell whether even an animal is curious, where it tilts its head to the side.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because they're just learning something. Well, that's exactly what happened with this praying mantis being. While I was overcoming my confusion as to what the heck I was seeing, and getting into the scene, it turned round. Well, there's two of them, but the one on the left turned round, looked at me, and then tilted its head, like, as if to say, "You all right?" And obviously I was, because you're untouchable as a point of consciousness. You're not even, or I didn't feel manifest in any way, shape or form. Not until I left the craft and seemed to fly down into this village, and I'm sure it's all metaphorical, and I still haven't figured it out yet, but there was buckles on everything. They had buckles for doorknobs, buckles for buttons, buckles for jewellery around your wrist, and the more buckles you had, the more the more up rank you were, sort of. It was bizarre, and I was in this little really novel town with all these elegantly dressed dwarf people, and I'm sort of floating above them. They couldn't see me. I was fully aware of that I was invisible. And then what I hadn't noticed before was, because in my previous session I saw from the outside a little lady, she must have been about 3 foot tall, and she had these little children, and they were tiny. For some reason my own consciousness was still leaking in. They were tiny, and I felt like there was some relationship there, and I think at one point I even went into the woman's body, because at one point I turned around and saw my 3 kids. They were playing on the floor. I was in the kitchen doing the washing up. My husband was sat there with a bloody mug of ale. He had been out working in the fields, and I couldn't believe how, after the session, how proud I was of those little kids. It was like activating my female, the feminine, you do you know what I mean? It was really bizarre. It was unreal. John had a word from that, for that.
Owl. Outer world life form.
Sorry?
Owl. Outer world life form.
I've never heard that one before. But
no, me neither.
They made a scary story out of that, didn't they? So the owls putting that, and all this scary music along the along throughout the video, as if abduction is a scary thing anyway. So yeah, that's brilliant, because it just brings me back to that question about the negatives. Our reaction sometimes is unwarranted. If I'm not saying that it's not horrific, I'm not saying that, but there's got to be a way to let them know. But trouble is, there, if they've put you into a type of sleep paralysis, you can't really say anything. But then the idea is, they know we scream a lot, they know our conscious minds have forgotten the connection between them and the entity who's abducted in question. Yeah. So it's how we respond to it.
How we choose to respond to it.
Exactly.
It's whether we respond through fear or whether we respond through faith, I suppose. In a 3D way or a 5D way, which leads me on to the next question.
Okay, awesome.
Which was posted in the Facebook group. So they were talking about the splitting of the Earth into the 3D and the 5D. So someone said that they had noticed on their social media that they have 2 groups of friends, and one group's there posting selfies, lashing out at others for their opinions and living in fear and doubt. And then there's the other group, which is posting about love, offering help and guidance, and encouraging others to speak their truths without judgment. And what they were saying is it's like two different timelines, one being the 3D and the other being the 5D. And she believes that this is what Dolores Cannon meant when she talked about the splitting of Gaia, of the Earth.
Interesting.
So Dolores Cannon, and this is a quote, said, "Some will evolve, some will stay back with nothing to fear. They will come when they are ready, and when they have learned what they need to learn, they will evolve. Some just get stuck and need to redo the experience until they learn and move on." So I thought that was a really interesting question.
Yeah, so they learn from their negative behaviour. See, humans are worse, aren't they? Let's face it.
Well, it's learning, isn't it, in each lifetime. So,
Absolutely.
the three waves of volunteers, there's those that will ascend with the earth, and then there is those that will need to come back, and some will just get stuck, and they'll be stuck in the 3D where they're still living the 3D life, buying into the old ways, I believe, following the establishments, following the rules.
Absolutely.
It's about creating the new earth.
Yeah,
And that means living in a world where we're all creative, where we're all loving, where we're using renewable sources of energy, where we're kind to the earth.
Yeah, to a degree that is coming anyway, as I see it, but it's how they're doing it that's a bit gross, and how they still want to maintain a form of control.
It's not pleasant,
I
but
don't understand
unfortunately it is a process.
But
it is unpleasant.
Yeah,
it's just the size of the wave that's coming. But as you know, anyway, from doing the regression healing, many clients have lived all different types of lives and all different types of traumas in those lives as well. And
the voice is gone. Gemma, I wonder if my voice.
I'm very quiet.
That your voice went. You've actually just come back right then. Yeah, your actual voice went, Gemma. So if you could repeat that last sentence, that would be lovely.
Quiet. Testing.
I can hear you now. Yeah. How bizarre.
Where did I get to?
I don't even know where you left off. It sort of cut out mid-sentence, sort of thing.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. I don't know where I last was.
Oh, that's okay. Let's go back to
lost my thread.
We were on the new earth, weren't we? And as I say it, we can either ascend in this lifetime, which means shifting from one dimension to another.
And the way that we do that, though, is living through higher states of vibration and motions.
And actions, yeah, definitely.
And actions, of course, matching our words.
Yeah, but the powers that be, they kind of do want it to be nice. Because they keep on about global warming. What they don't mention is the fact that it is historically known that the Earth warms up, it has warm periods, and it has bloomin' freezing periods. I remember myself literally 3-foot snowdrifts, if you know what I mean, up hedges, and since then there's been nothing in the way of temperatures that cold to actually produce such snowdrifts anymore. But they'll put it down to global warming, or or carbon. I mean, when you understand atomic mass and the atomic mass of gases, you understand that carbon lives on the ground. Carbon dioxide, monoxide, it sits on the floor at the lowest point because it is a carbon particle, and it has a density of 12. Yeah, it has a density, an atomic mass of 12. So, which is lighter than oxygen, which I believe is 6. I might have to, but it just demonstrates that one is lighter than the other. So naturally, like oil and water, one's going to float and one's going to sink, or appear to. They'll just find their balance. That's all. That's why there's an ozone layer, because of the atomic mass of that particular gas. It sits up there. It's up there next to the hydrogen. And as soon as the two interfere with one another, hydrogen and oxygen create water, especially in the presence of dust particles. So that's what the sky was designed to clean the atmosphere, or the rain was. And I've spoken to elementals that can confirm that. So obviously it's got to water the ground. But what you were going to say? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just wondering, after what you were saying, I wonder what's going on with the weather at the moment. I mean, we had lovely sunshine, and then we had a bit of snow this afternoon. I don't know what it's like down in your county in the UK, but yeah, it was very strange.
It was bizarre, yeah, but it's kind of cold. They're probably calling it a nightmare from the north or something is coming in now, or the beast from the east. Russia,
yeah.
There's some Russians.
Yeah, we have a beast from the east every year now, don't we? Or a few of them. Another beast from the east.
Yeah, and it's
basically
just
a bit of cold wind.
Yeah, coming down from the north. I mean, let's dramatise everything, shall we?
But it's about the fear. About the fear.
Yeah.
So.
And control again. I mean, we already know about geoengineering and the fact that they can make it rain, they can get rid of clouds, whenever they want. So, and they do.
There's a famous Dolores Cannon quote saying, "You keep the population in fear, you can control it."
Well,
have you heard? Did you ever witness her say that?
It makes kind of sense, doesn't it? Because you will turn into a sheep. If we're not careful.
Turn into a sheep
if you're not careful. I mean, but we were given discernment by source intelligence, weren't we? Our own discernment, but that can only come based on our own experience. And because people don't really experience life as much, the discernment is going to be tainted. I think it's a spiritual mission that people need to embrace. And by spirit, I mean consciousness. That's where all of the power is, the consciousness and the unconscious. Yeah, it can make impossible things happen, it seems. And it's all good for healing.
Oh, it's just gone very quiet.
It's all good for healing and enlightenment. So, can you hear me now? You've just thrown me off now. Can you hear me now? Right, excellent. That threw me off then. Because
can you hear me?
All of a sudden, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
You said, it went all quiet. And then I thought, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? That's what I was saying just a minute ago.
So I've got a Starseed Oracle reading for everyone that's joined us tonight. So I asked for a message for everyone from the Starseed Oracle. And the card that I pulled is Water Your Garden. And this is about nourishment, body care, tenderness, and rest. So Earth is a seasonal planet, and as such, you're a seasonal being, cycling. You can't be on and in full bloom month after month, day after day after day. You're strongly being called to put on the brakes, rest and refuel, to take a moment to restock and replenish, and to slow right on down. Your body is the only body that you're given, and it needs to be respected as such. You're being called to take responsibility for your well-being, to put your health and body first. I know it can feel like time is running out, and as if there are urgent things that simply can't wait. However, if you keep pushing on, soon fatigue will set in. This way of living isn't sustainable. If anyone continues to race through life, eventually they will reach exhaustion, and it will take longer to recover than it would have done to rest. Immune system disorders and mystery illnesses are becoming more common because we're putting too much pressure on our bodies to keep up with the instantaneous pace of modern life. How are you being called to put on the brakes? To rest, restore, and rejuvenate. When was the last time you took a holiday or had a full weekend, day or afternoon off? Look after your own precious body and your mind. Give yourself enough time to recover when you find yourself running on your reserves. There is enough time. Life will bend towards you when you do. So the starseed soul inquiry of this card is, what is your body yearning for? So I'd like everyone to just reflect on that and think that it needs. Might be something simple like drinking more water, eating better foods, but there'll be some way that you can replenish your body. And that's it.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
No, so I have had a client where they have asked for several ailments to be healed. And they also asked for some of their friends' ailments to be healed. And I did ask for healing for those ailments,
Awesome.
but apparently nothing happened. Now I'm not sure if, because I was very new to it at the time, I think it was like my second regression when that was asked or something. I think what I'm supposed to do is ask for permission from the higher self.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. Did you?
Get out of my head.
Did you ask if it was appropriate? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I'd missed a trick there on that one.
Have I mentioned about the cat before? Did I? I know I've mentioned it in the groups, but I should make a list.
You have
really.
not mentioned it on the show, so I definitely think you should talk about the cat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a lady whose cat had been paralysed for about 8 years. Are you sure I haven't? I've said it so many times. I don't know who I've said it to. But it had been paralysed for 8 years. It just dragged itself about by its front legs, and its back legs seemed to drag behind it, And she asked if it could help, and I said, yeah, possibly. I mean, I didn't really know, but I said I'm definitely up for the experiment just to see, So we went ahead with the session, and bear in mind she was completely somnambulistic. When she come out of the session, she was almost surprised that I was there, because she had just woken up from a really deep sleep. So she had completely not remembered. She barely remembered the past life that she had. I couldn't tell how significant. I normally try to match things up with my own experience to see what's the relationship, but the past life didn't really seem to have any relationship to it whatsoever. But we get to the subconscious, and I said, and this is while I was using QHHT before it evolved, and I did ask, is it appropriate to fix the cat, to heal the cat? And the source said yes. And I said, well, you know, do your thing then, sort of thing. I don't remember exactly what, because I haven't transcribed it, but you know, I just said, you know, do your thing. I probably filled in stuff that I didn't need to fill in, like focus especially on the back legs or something like that, you know, and its spinal column, obviously. I don't really remember what I had said, but I did make sure that we had permission and that it was appropriate to change the life of this cat. And yeah, we did the session. Right at the end of the session, we always ask for a sign, don't we? So that the source has been working with us. And I was just sort of packing my my scripts up and things, and I heard a voice out. It had come from another room. It was in the same house, but it was her daughter in the house, just down the corridor, and who just shouted out. She said, "The cat's walking." I went into straight shock, you know, and then turned around, and there it was, stood up in the doorway as if it was fit and healthy. And I mean, because prior to that, the back end looked really kind of lame, and it wasn't as chunky as it was, kind of skinny, you know. But when it stood up, the whole it completely looked utterly as if there was nothing wrong with this cat. It walked as if there was nothing wrong with the cat. So
wow.
yeah, exactly. And I turned around,
And it continued to heal as well, didn't it? The cat.
well, the thing is, I'm getting into that. Yeah, it did. Yeah, but I turned around to the lady and I said, "Do you see that ever?" And she said, "No. You know, it doesn't walk. It is paralysed. It's," and then all of a sudden, it quickly reverted back to its normal self. Even the back end looked scrawny. It went back to how it was. But the very next day, I only wanted a few screws for a little bit of DIY I was doing, and I kept on thinking to myself, no, I don't really need, you know, I can't really warrant this. I can wait for just a few screws. I might even find some about, but it kept on plaguing me. You need some screws. I need, you know. It just kept on at me, and so I thought, oh, stop it. I'm going to go down and get some blooming screws and stop this voice antagonising me, you know. So I went down and went in. I got the screws, went up to the counter, and the lady didn't even look up to me, and she spoke. She said, "The cat's walking, by the way." I'm kind of dumbfounded. She sat there actually literally just scribbling something on a piece of paper. I don't know what she was doing, but she didn't even make eye contact or anything, so she was speaking to me. It was as if something or someone had taken possession of her body and just spoke it. But when she finally looked up, it turns out she was just clever. And when she finally looked up, and she said, "Yeah, I actually know that cat. I visit it every day, like, you know, and today he's actually up and walking about." And, you know, and I'm like, wow. And the very next day, I randomly somehow, the image is faded now over time, but I randomly somehow got to know that, oh, the cat's now jumping up on the furniture. And I'm like, oh my God. And on the third day, I believe it was, I got the message from the lady, from the cat owner, and said now it's climbing trees. And that just, you know, it just blew me away. You don't knock it till you try it, sort of thing, you know. But it was completely unbelievable, completely impossible. All we did was use words, and obviously in the correct order. and something happens. That's all we can say, really. There was another remote healing session where a young lad was in hospital with a collapsed lung, and the doctors and that, they were all discussing whether they were to remove it, and I think they had agreed, I'm pretty sure they had agreed that it would be best if it was removed. So during the session, that was like an 8-hour session. It took me a long time for her to get something which I would deem as relevant. Well, not relevant, but deem as, we've had something. They've gone to a past life, they've done this, they've done that. That's, now. But unfortunately, there was a lot of time where nothing was happening, and they had to sort of be in a void for a little time. But right at the end, we asked if it was appropriate to heal. Basically, they had sacrificed their own healing, really, I think. They did get respite for their ailment for one night. They couldn't believe it, because it's impossible.
So did they suggest that they wanted to sacrifice their own healing, or was that something that came through in the session about them foregoing their own healing for themselves?
No, that was my opinion. I was under the assumption that they were coming for their own healing. I was pretty sure about that.
Right,
because,
I see. But when they came, you found out it was for someone else.
Yeah, well, they wanted their own healing, and they wanted it for someone else as well. And like I say, they did get it, but that was only for one day, and then all the symptoms returned again. But the fact that the symptoms disappeared was a sign, and maybe we'll get to have another session if needs be. But the main thing I went to, I didn't know about this until we actually sat down during the consultation. And right after I'd finished speaking, I'd got hold of the ailments that she wished to address, and then she looked up and said, "Can I add another bit of healing? Is there any way that I can send healing to the small child that she knows?" And I said, "I don't see any reason why not." But so, we went ahead with the session anyway, and then I get to the subconscious, and I said, "Is it appropriate to heal this small person in the hospital?" And it said no. That was the first time ever it said no. So I said, "What? Why? Why not?" And it said, and I call it it. It doesn't care what you call it. I learned that my way. But it said they need to be prepared first. And I thought, okay then, is it appropriate to prepare them for healing? And it said yes. And I said, okay then, go for it, prepare them. Let me know when you're finished preparing them, so as we can continue. And then all of a sudden it just said finished. It was the subconscious is a minimalist when it comes to doing anything apart from exactly what you intended to go there for. So I said, okay.
It always uses the least amount of words. I find it seems to never speaks too much.
Yeah.
It just says exactly the right thing. Like sometimes I feel like it's like unemotional or almost like a little bit rude. Sometimes it comes across as, like from a human perspective, I mean.
Yeah.
But it's not really rude as such. It's just direct.
They need it. We need it. Yes.
They need it. We need it.
We need that. We need that.
Bring on the directness.
But yeah, I said okay then, and I probably said again, which I did say again. I do recall saying again. Okay then, now it's appropriate that you can do the healing. Can you do a body scan and fix? Focus on especially the lung area. Obviously, I didn't need to. It knows exactly. I didn't have to say anything, but I need something for the recording. So, and it's a good note anyway. It's like taking notes, memory notes. But yeah. So and I said let us know when you finished, and it said again, finished within a when we got to the end of the session, I was just bringing the person back, and to that time and that place, and her husband. We sort of walked out into another area outside of the office, which had the bed in it, and her husband was there, and he said, "You won't believe this." He said, "Just after you, a few minutes after you had just made the request for healing, her husband received a message from the hospital saying that the child had just been given the all clear." They talk about hairs on the back of the neck standing up and on the top of your head. Do you know what I mean? This set every hair off on my body, I think. But we just looked at each other at amazement. It was unbelievable, completely unbelievable. Coincidence? Yeah, it did coincide. Yeah, it was. And it coincided beautifully. Were we responsible? It is totally questionable, but at the same time, what are the odds? They were going to remove the lung. That was
absolutely remarkable, and the fact that they didn't remove the lung.
It was completely unbelievable. I guess they just started breathing correctly again. But yeah, it was completely mind-blowing. And then I was learning.
I wonder what the preparation was that was going on. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, that's fine.
I'm curious to know what the preparation was that they were referring to.
I didn't think to ask, and I think it knows that you don't think to ask because you're too gobsmacked. You're too mind blown. My scientific self, my other self, it was going crazy. I think it was dying at that time. my scientific self and this new spiritual self was kind of dominating over it, because science says that's impossible. And what did we witness? It was perfect. But I say that, and the child's been perfectly fine since. And the only reason I say that they sacrificed their own healing was because the person's ailment come back, her ailment come back the day after. But like I say, it was amazing. It was impossible that it vanished in the first place. She had not had any respite from that ever since it had started, So.
And was there any indication in the session of that she would possibly get the ailment back?
No.
Sometimes in regression healing, we ask that question. It's in like the general questions at the back. We sometimes ask, or yeah. I've definitely asked.
Yeah.
Is there anything that Mr. Blah Blah needs to do in order to make sure that this ailment doesn't come back?
Yeah. I have no idea. I mean, I was using QHHT at the time. She did get 1 day's respite. they were mind blown and over the moon that that even happened. That was even possible. I did offer another session, but yeah, I don't know, because I was at that time I was a script to the letter junkie. Do you know what I mean? Dolores' word was gospel, and that was it. But that particular person, actually came to me. She wrote a message. She said, "I've just had a session with a well-known QHHT practitioner, and it was completely rubbish. In fact, I really don't believe QHHT even works." And that blew me away, and I said, okay, then I'm going to offer you a free session, and we're going to test that theory out, like, you know. And, you know, come down from London, come to see me. And the session was completely mind-blowing. In fact, I wrote a book, the Shaman and the Goddess. I transcribed that into a book, you know, so as other people can read it.
But I think I've read that one.
Yeah. It's just mind-blowing. But that was all linked into it as well, you know. It was amazing. She was just the craft. They had a craft which was a pyramid shape. It was unbelievable, you know. If we look at it as metaphors, I can't even start to work that one out. I mean, thinking about it, it was so complex. It was, I wouldn't know. I mean, they weren't aliens, so she's not feeling alienated, you know. Which I questioned as well. I questioned that, oh well, am I seeing aliens because I somehow feel alienated? Then I saw extreme aliens, and then I thought, am I extremely feeling extremely alienated? do you know what I mean? But then I had the following session where they were not included, but I knew where I'd come from. I'd come from them all the same, because it was the same account. But yeah, and I went in, floating across this whole town. I described it as a little, really ornate village. It was a town square or a town centre. Town square. It was more circular actually, but no, I think it was a square. It had a fountain in the middle anyway, and I ended up going into this lady in a purple dress, and I think she was just dressed up fancy. But you know, I wondered whether I was asked about my relationship to to this person just before I actually entered into her body, and then I was asked to look down at my feet, because I guess the practitioner suspected that I might have entered into this, because she was already living, she was already walking about. I just entered, or seemed to, an aspect of consciousness entered into her, and then I was asked, do you have anything on your feet? And next thing I'm saying, oh, I might be in her now, because I think I'm looking out of her eyes at head height. You know, I'm her height now. I was feeling. Then I looked down, and yeah, I had little purple shoes on, a purple dress, purple hat. It was massive purple hat, and buckles everywhere. So.
More buckles, eh? More buckles.
I called it Buckleberry, because it was just insane. I even never. What does that?
Buckleberry sounds like Bucklegate. Bucklegate.
I had no idea, but what does that even mean? You know, why should? And the thing is, how I got there, strangely enough, was it was from the ETs. Yeah, I was in a craft. We were, in the craft. I seemed to have this ability to see what was outside anyway. I don't know whether I just went inside and out of the craft at will, just quickly have a peek. We called it reconnaissance. But yeah, looking down on this, on the earth, we were floating. Is it called floating? Those craft that they float, don't they? We were floating above some mountains, and they were really inhospitable, jagged mountains. It was nothing could. It seemed like nothing could live there. And I was saying, no, there is no way. And then all of a sudden I had this feeling that there is a way. And I couldn't understand it, but I ended up leaving the craft, floating out above the mountain, and I looked down at the mountain, and I used the words submersing. I mean, you only use that word in the physical world for one reason. That's when you're going under something. But this, it was either a hypnotic command to myself to make me go that little bit deeper, or it was used to lower the dimension frequency. Or I'll put it this way: I was floating over the mountain. I said the submersing word, and all of a sudden a kind of hole appeared in the top of the mountain, as if, and when I looked down in the hole, I could literally see the town. It was there, but this hole wasn't a door, it wasn't a window of anything. It was fairly rough around the edges, but I could see clearly that there was a door, and then I was saying, oh, this is hidden. You'll never find this place, you know. It is in the mountain, you know. Basically, it was a different dimension. In their dimension, the mountain wasn't even there. But somehow I had opened up a portal into their dimension just by using the word submersing. And I flew through into the portal, and this is where I was above 2 feet above the people's heads in the town. It was really busy, Buckleberry, but yeah, and then I flew over to the woman. So yeah, it seems to be related to these ETs, the Mantis People. It was pretty crazy. A lot to figure out anyway. For a few years.
Yeah, well, with remote and I mean, surrogate healing is basically like remote healing, isn't it? And I mean, although I haven't sort of managed to do it in the regression healing, I do sometimes send healing remotely, and I can do crystal healing remotely as well, because healing can occur across any distance via thought, intention, emotions. And I believe that, you know, the healing energy will always positively affect the recipient, you know, when it's sent with the right intentions.
Oh, yeah.
That energy is going to be good. So,
totally.
Yes, do send love. Do send love and do send healing to people, because it really does work.
Yeah,
it really does work.
I agree 100%. Yeah, well, they do say, I mean, in Chinese philosophy or Buddhist philosophy, that Qi, which is the energy that Reiki practitioners use, if I'm correct.
Qi is just energy in general,
And with the right intention connected to it, well, they say Qi follows intention and power follows Qi. Well, not power as in power-mongery, but healing power, which is their intention, you know, obviously.
Well, yeah, when you put your energy into the intention of healing someone, whether that's just like gathering your thoughts or feeling the love in your heart, you can absolutely send that.
Yeah, there's some good they're wing makers meditation where they send compassion, and their meditations are definitely worth looking at, because they're pretty amazing, absolutely amazing, really.
So there was another subject that you wanted to touch on, Chris, about the telepathy of energy.
Oh yeah, that coming up in one of our, because it confused me for a little while.
Yeah.
Until these things come, anything that confuses my brain seems to see it as a problem, and problems always need to be fixing, so they keep on coming back until they're fixed, you know. And I finally understood what telepathy of energy was, and it was just so simple. I can't understand how it evaded me. But then we were still learning how to use Discord, and very distracted, and I kept on losing the chat window. So yeah, that explains that one. Anyway, but the telepathy of energy is the tele just means move, and pathy is mind, you know, and it just completely, it's just the same as exactly what we were talking about, moving energy with your mind, you know.
Yeah, it does all tie in, doesn't it?
It's
And
completely.
when we initially discussed the topics, um, we didn't even realise it was tying in that kind of way. But yeah,
No.
it's funny, isn't it, how it works out?
Oh, absolutely.
The other topic we were discussing as well was the tips to access the subconscious.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Can I just interject there with one more? You asked me a question in part one, and I don't feel that I answered it correctly. And you said that some go in and they get to the source, and they don't always get the answers to the questions that they're asking. Is that correct? You mentioned about. I'm sure you mentioned.
Yes,
Yes. Some don't get all of the
sometimes
answers.
I've had the subconscious refuse
Yeah.
to answer the questions.
That's the source in regression healing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a
And I've
similar
been
thing.
told it's not appropriate, it's not the right time,
Yeah.
it's not something that they need to know. Yeah, because I always ask why, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't. You wouldn't. We'd be completely different people, wouldn't we, if we didn't ask that question? But yeah, my answer to that is exactly like your four answers. Is they're not meant to. It's really plain and simple. They're not meant to have the answer, because if we knew it all, like you know, but it wouldn't. There would be no life if you knew what was coming around the corner every 5 minutes. It would take the life out of life, really.
Well, yeah, it's not for anybody to interfere in anybody's path, is it? We all ultimately are on our own path, and we all have, steps along the way, like our lessons that we have to learn. So,
Yeah,
yes, it isn't always appropriate to have all of the answers to absolutely everything. And I know that, I love a bit of knowledge. I love to find things out. That's definitely what led me on this journey in the first place with learning the regression healing. Is I just always wanted to know the answers to absolutely everything. So yeah, it's important for those of us that seek the answers to know that not everything can be known.
yeah,
Not everything. We've always got more to learn.
totally.
That's what the source is always showing us, I think.
Yeah, well, we've got eternity on that side, and on this side, we've only got a blink of an eye, really. Lifetime, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
And Johnny Boyce just said, happened to me a couple of times, also told me I need to heal, that the source would not heal.
Yeah,
Learn from your mistakes.
yeah. Oh, we do that well. When we stop and observe, yeah. Source has a funny way of showing us those mistakes, though. And if we don't learn it during a session, that's another thing I found about the sessions, is that sometimes healing is not always instantaneous. Like the cat, although we got like the kind of Jesus effect, like get up and walk, you lazy git. And then it happens right there. But then the cat reverted back to its original self within like 30 seconds. Unbelievable, nonetheless. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I've had non-instantaneous healing, where someone's come out and they've said, no, some of the ailments had gone. I was told that everything had been healed in the session, but there was like a sensation that remained in her leg. And what she said was, that the sensation, it wasn't painful anymore, but there was definitely still a sensation there. And it was interesting because she'd gone to a completely different healer, and this other healer had told her that it was where she'd had a spear in her leg from a previous life. I mean, I've got no idea how this person knew this, but what she'd found out in the regression was that it was some sort of messages that she was being sent.
Oh, right.
And it was from her family, from her soul family. So she was receiving some sort of sensation in her leg, but they said that they were going to tone it down because she'd received enough of the messages by now. So I have no idea what that was all about. It wasn't appropriate to know the ins and outs of it either. So I did ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
Wow.
very interesting. But yeah, that afterwards, it did just completely disappear within the week.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, like you say, I don't know how some people can. I mean, some people do profess to be able to scan you and say you've had this life and over that. But basically, I don't think you can do that until you actually know about someone's situation. I mean, what I've learned and learning more and more is that I'm getting some idea of how karma affects past lives, how karma affects the now, and how karma affects the future lives. Now, Dolores Cannon, she did mention about Yeshua or the Jesus. He actually had this knowledge anyway. I mean, I don't know the truth of it, but from the knowledge of karma. I mean, Hindus have had it since Hinduism started, and Buddhas know it. And God knows how they have. How do you? Without hypnosis, I don't understand how they could have known this unless they were masters at self-hypnosis. So because this is a technology, really. Karma is a technology. The all of creation is a it's biotech. It's technology. We walk about in technology. It's a machine, as I said earlier on, designed to interface with this reality. I mean, I don't think you'll ever change the third dimension, but you can certainly create a new version of it, which appears to be in the same place. I was speaking about the mountains, and then I sort of used the command word, and I don't know, submerse means go under, go deeper. Yeah, and then I opened a portal after I went deeper and phased into. I literally went through a portal. Well,
they did talk about like meditation and stuff in the Bible, didn't they?
Yeah, King David used to, just before he went out and murder people.
No.
He did. I think that's the only account that I can remember where they say, but they don't want you meditating. They don't want people meditating. But there is one or two instances
They were all rebels
in there.
as well, weren't they? They were all rebels.
Yeah.
Jesus, Buddha. Buddha was meant to be. He went against his royal background.
Yeah.
He wants to experience life.
Yeah.
And Jesus was obviously the rebel.
Yeah. Oh, completely. He wasn't a Christian. No, Buddha was not a Buddhist. Do you know what I mean? Krishna was not a Hindu. You know, so and Jesus certainly didn't have a Bible because he warned about the scribes. You know, he warned about the media
He did,
long
yeah,
time ago.
and the corporations and the governments.
Yeah, exactly. And so did other people before him. They warned about life in the city, that it's away so far away from nature that it creates abominations. You know, it sounds a little bit of a harsh word, really, but all it means is just something that's unnatural.
That's right. When you put your faith in something other than the creator, when you put your faith in the government,
Yeah.
it only leads to the road to hell. That's the moral of the story, I believe, in all of the books.
Yeah, and it's paved with gold. So be careful about that stuff. It's not all. It's shiny is not always good.
And yellow bricks as well. If you watch the Wizard of Oz, we can talk about the symbolism in that if you like.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh God, it's all rife, isn't it, with subliminal suggestions. I mean, they're in your face, but you don't notice. So you're not. Most people are not aware that they're being sent a deep message which is going to alter their perspective or their normal. Say like you watch a horror movie, you've never watched one ever. As soon as you do, your sense of normal has just shifted. You know, first of all you lived in paradise, and now it has this other potential. You know, but that's humans. We're creative, so there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
That always happens, doesn't it, in childhood as well? You know, like when you're a child, it's almost like you suddenly watch something scary and then you just love being scared, and you end up watching loads of other scary things and go on a bit of a horror rampage. I mean, I can't watch horrors anymore at
no.
all. There's no appeal to me watching anything like that.
No. As I said, they've taken things too far. You know, when they start goring people, yeah,
It's not even scary. It's just ridiculous.
it is
Like
ridiculous.
when I've last seen it, I've been like, oh please, like seriously, could you
Yeah.
add any more gore to it?
Oh, I don't know. They want to switch us away from normal. So things are so not good that we no longer know what good really is. You know, we know we're so impure. We no longer know what purity is. So corrupt. We no longer know what truth is. Like, you know what I mean? So they have to push this to an extreme, and they always do. The beast from the east, you know, hurricane flipping. Let's name it all. Let's document it all, you know, and they love it. The drama.
Encouraging everyone to strive for perfection in unachievable things as well.
Yes, exactly.
You know, all the kids my son's age, they all you know, they all talk about the Lamborghinis that they want to own and stuff like that. It's like, please.
I remember. I remember those days. Yeah.
You know, they all think they're going to grow up and be driving around in Porsches, and
well, hopefully not. I mean, we wish them every success, but you know, hopefully not. There's kind of better things to be spending money on, more productive, like, you know, rather than just being a constant consumer. You know, I'm not sure that's the way. Creator gave us everything we needed to survive, and then some people took it and sold it back to us, claimed ownership and sold it back.
Indeed, the richness comes from our relationships and our experiences.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, then, so shall we get on to the question, the subconscious not coming through?
Tips to access the subconscious.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, Well, all I can say is that from my experience of helping hundreds, probably over 1,000 now, easily QHHT practitioners, I guess they call them interns. That when I learned, there was no such thing as an intern. You didn't have to prove anything really, apart from the fact that you could pass the test. And yeah, I did that with 100%. So that being said, the very first, and I might mention this, the very first session I had the subconscious did not come through. But the lady went somewhere else instead, which was, she was the teacher of regression healing. She was the one who started that teaching, unwittingly, might I add. But yeah, the subconscious didn't come through. She went to somewhere else, and we ended up getting healing somewhere else and some other way else. And I'm not sure if I mentioned, but the lady, she was 80 years old, and she had cataracts. And after the session, she could see clearly again. You know, she had 80-year-old foot problem. The very next day, she got my attention, all excited, and told me to look at her foot, and she was wiggling her toes about, and I didn't really remember the image from yesterday, the day prior, when she was actually showing me what was wrong with her. I had no idea. She actually showed me what was wrong with her foot, and because I can't see under the skin, I still had no idea what was wrong with her foot. And yet the next day she got my attention, even my partner's attention, because she was a QHHT practitioner. She asked me to go and get her. She's got to hear this as well. And she said, look, it's completely healed, you know, her foot. And I had not had the subconscious through. That night was a nightmare, because I was thinking, oh my God, what did I do wrong? I was getting really kind of down, until she looked up and said the next day, and this is even after her eyeball, because that was like, I didn't notice any change. You know what I mean? I didn't notice that she had gone from virtually blind to clear sight again. But yeah, that was insane. But still, I was kind of in this mindset, like, no subconscious, no healing. No, so regardless of the fact that she could clearly see me now, no subconscious, no healing. And it was, you know, the next day, well, that very night, I had gone back to my notes, and what I basically noticed was, in the consultation, I had said nothing about the subconscious. I had said nothing about what it can do. I had completely somehow left that out of my consultation, which I'd wrote down word for word, you know, apart from that bit, obviously. But then I realised that, you know, people have to be programmed with its power. You know, and if that's the case, imagine what we can be. But, you know, so the very next session, because that lady had 7 sessions, she became a QHHT addict, a guinea pig like me, because I was doing these sessions for free, you know, because I was her gardener at the time, and I just wanted to help. And yeah, the next session, I put all the consultation, I put all the relevant words and commands in to the consultation. The very next session, when I called the subconscious in, yeah, it come in. It's straight away, and from that point on, yeah, it come through. So basically, the consultation that it did with regards to the subconscious is the most important part of the session. Without those guidance from the consultation, guiding people, giving people an idea of what it can do, where it's in you, you know, is it letting them know that it's part of you, letting them know that it has the ability to be able to heal anything that is appropriate within the human physical body. So, yeah, it's the consultation. That's the problem. A lot of people say, oh, we've got and we did speak about this because I mentioned that a lot of people think you sit down and have a cup of tea, and you mentioned about and get their life story, when that is definitely not what you do. It's not. Not there. You're wasting valuable time learning about what they. We don't need to learn what the gory details. None of it. All we need to know is the area that is affected, and that's it. The subconscious in QHHT will do the rest. The source or the lie in regression healing will do the rest. We can speculate as to what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. But basically, we have no idea what to expect, and that's what I've learned in over 8 years of practice. The consultation is the most important part of the session, and I would recommend tea, coffee, biscuits, whatever. And some people are even worried, what about the caffeine? I mean, I don't suffer from that. Nobody else I have conducted a session for seems to have suffered from that. They've always gone away with exactly what they needed, regardless of the fact that they've just drunk an earthly substance. I don't know. I don't seem to be affected in the same way. Say, for instance, coffee nor tea keeps me awake. So I suspect that is hypnosis, to the degree that some people, just through the suggestion and the power of suggestion, all you need to hear is 3 times, and all of a sudden you can become an addict. That's it. It doesn't, and then you think, oh, you can't wake up.
It's almost like people are just looking for suggestions as to why they can't do it.
It's self-hypnosis, isn't it?
Yeah, like, oh no, the caffeine's going to stop me. Like, you're talking yourself out of it already. Don't go down that road.
Yeah. It may well be a stimulant, but as yet, I've never got anything from a simple cup of coffee. I've never been stimulated that I noticed, to the point that I noticed. I've never been woken up that I've noticed. But yeah, that's the part about the subconscious. I think I'm not sure there's anything more other than when it comes to healing, we have to find out first whether it is appropriate and in alignment with source intelligence plans for any individual.
Oh, we've got a question from Johnny Boy. Can you meditate to meet your guide after QHHT or only through sessions?
Yes, you can. And you can with regression healing as well, to a degree, because we do ask the source or the guides, angels, some people have angels, to give us messages and even healing while we're sleeping.
People that I've conducted multiple sessions with have had like lots of different guides appear.
Yeah, I expect there's myriad, isn't there? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we're all meant to have more than one guide for sure. And I mean, I haven't conducted, sort of 20 sessions on one person or whatever.
No.
But yeah, it's funny. The ones that I have conducted multiple sessions with, they have had different guides that greet them in the hereafter.
Absolutely. Yeah, who was it? Oh, it was the old elderly lady again. My teacher. My inadvertent teacher. I think I mentioned last time. She said when I asked the subconscious, can we speak to her guides or angels? She don't need no guides. Yeah, I mentioned it before, didn't she? And that was very blunt there. Yeah, and quite to the point, actually.
I've had quite a few sessions where they've refused to let me know who the guides are.
Oh, right.
Yeah, may we know who they are? And no, it's not appropriate.
Ah, that's interesting on its own,
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
But But yeah, if it's not appropriate, I mean, it's always a very frustrating answer to get that it's not appropriate. It's just not appropriate right now.
It's so true. That is so true. But yeah, we can still ask the question why? Why? Like
Yes, why is it not appropriate? Absolutely.
That's our child self, that is. We should never lose that one.
What's that? The why? Wanting to know why?
Yeah, you know, there's a
The questioning, yeah.
with children, especially when you're explaining something and they're just why, and then you explain that bit and they're like why, you know what I mean? Until they're satisfied.
Exhausted.
Till you're
Exhausted the whys.
But yeah, until they're satisfied that you have successfully answered their successfully give them enough knowledge, the knowledge that they're after. Yeah, is amazing. But yeah, we should always question everything. Why? And we will get an answer. That's the bizarre thing. You could call it the matrix if you want, but that always has a way of showing us why. If we can't get the answer through voice, it can appear in the environment. It's just up to us how, to see it. But yeah, it reminds me of a bit that we were talking about last time, where one of your clients has found extreme significance in a shoe, a single lone shoe, and I found extreme significance in a single sentence, you know, and it was just coincided perfectly, and it could only mean one thing, even though regardless of anything else, yeah, it can only mean one thing in that moment. Oh my God, the source is speaking to me through, it's manipulating the realm of the earth to talk to me, like, you know. No, that's impossible. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So do we have any more questions? Are we coming up with the time yet, are we? Is that?
Yeah, we're coming up to time now.
Oh, okay. Do we have a questions? Any more questions from the group? Maybe.
Johnny Boy is typing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good though. Can you meditate to meet your guides? You can, yeah. Just with that intention.
That's what I would say, is always set the intention at the beginning of the meditation for what it is that you're trying to achieve, and just see what comes through. You know, you might not get it in that session, but just keep trying.
Yeah. Or I'd say be patient as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes practice.
Yeah. I mean, I remember one time I sort of had a issue I wanted to go in to address, you know, because when I was sort of slaughtering my ego, I think I was doing it a bit harshly, but I wanted to find out how I had even become the way that I did, you know, getting lost in fashion, sex, drugs and rock and roll and all that. I wanted deeper answers to it, and so I did some meditation, and I was literally shocked at the images that I got. They just appeared in my head as flashes of images, and it was completely unbelievable. But I could immediately see how that could relate back to that scenario, you know. I think you can answer every question you have. It's just a matter of being still enough to get and in the correct state of consciousness in order to receive the answer. And Johnny Boy's,
it's like opening that sort of channel, isn't it, and allowing it to just flow through.
Absolutely. It seems to come automatically, provided we have the patience to actually sit there. Of course, we're not waiting. We're just sitting there and observing how the meditation is affecting our body. It's making us initially self-aware, aware of our physical form from the inside out. We don't often do that. We normally shut our eyes and go to sleep, but now we're going to close our eyes and stay awake And this is in that state. It doesn't take long for images to come. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But the guides may change from lifetime to lifetime, and they also may change appearance according to the personality that has just left their body. If you understand, they would have lived a different time. Maybe they come from a tribal time, so they might need a angelic spirit, something really to that they're familiar with, especially familiar with. Like family is very common. The word familiar. But yeah, often people passing over do see relatives, aunties, uncles, grandmas, mothers. You know, they do appear, or they sort of they semi-manifest to that person, which means they can peer into our dimension, and only the person just about to leave their body can peer into the other dimension. It sort of opens up a portal, just leaving the body. I mean, obviously, this is not a scientific fact. This is taken from hundreds of anecdotal sessions. You know, it's all anecdotal, but anecdotal evidence to me is still evidence. So, you know, just because science may not have recognised it, just because it's not in the mass media, doesn't mean to say it's not real, you know. And it's quite a common thing, isn't it? Reincarnation is well known throughout the East and the Orient.
Well, yeah, this is the thing about Easter, isn't it? People talk about it being, you know, all about the death of Jesus, but it's not. It's about the reincarnation.
Is that with regards to the resurrection or the ascension into light? Because there's a different couple of views, isn't there? I mean, they killed him, but then he comes back to life, doesn't he?
Yeah. So I think it's about the cycle of rebirth. I think that's what Easter is for. I mean, if you think about it, spring and the spring equinox, it's the time that all life springs into action.
Yeah.
It's the time that all of the plants start to come into bloom.
Yeah.
It's the time that all of the flowers start to open. And little baby animals start hatching out. It is the time of the year that life just springs forth.
See, that makes more sense, doesn't it?
So for there to be some sort of figure, you know, that in the Easter time they regenerated, or you know, they started a new life, makes perfect sense. Because it's the beginning. You know, the end is the beginning.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Totally. But yeah, the Johnny Boy in the chat again, he said, if the population is getting greater, is there more and more souls approaching to witness the new Earth awakening? Does this mean other planets of dimensions are shrinking? That's pretty awesome. So we'll address that as the last question then, yeah? Because souls, they seem to be born constantly. Dimensions seem to be myriad, even though I don't know.
But a soul can operate in multiple dimensions,
Exactly.
you know, all at the same time.
It can.
So it's not like a soul moves out of one dimension, and then dimension starts to shrink as such. I don't believe, anyway.
No. I think it's more you should see it, or how I see it now, as localized consciousness, because, like you say, consciousness is everywhere.
It's the point of focus, isn't it? That the soul is focused on at that point.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can say that there was a session that I did. This lady went back to a lifetime. It might have even been in this life. Where she had locked her child in, or the child had locked himself inside, and the key was inside the house and all the windows, and she was going around the windows frantically. And you know, I said, you don't need to worry about it. You can just view that scene objectively and see what you can do about it. And then the next thing you know, she had left her body, and she sort of in the middle of the room, well, going round inside the room. scouting about, to see how this problem could be figured out, and it was her consciousness. The mind was completely unaware. It carried on doing something, but an aspect of her left her body and went into the house and had a look around. Now, the most bizarre thing about that was the fact that if I was to ask her to look from the corner of the room on the left-hand side, they would be there in an instant without even thinking. If I asked to go on the right-hand side, they'd be there. They were able to scan every aspect of that room. So, and look at their child inside the room from any point in that room at that time. So you could be on the floor, up at the ceiling. It was incredible. And the only thing I could say, she was everywhere anyway. She was everywhere anyway. It was just consciousness, because it needed to speak our language. It had to be localized and linearized. I don't even know if that's a word, but hey ho.
Gonna say it anyway.
But in reality, our consciousness is omnidirectional. Seems to be in all places simultaneously. The only reason this dream, we think being serial, thinking in sentences. Well, you don't think in sentences. Speaking in sentences, we don't realise that we're doing. Imagine when you're going to say one word, one sentence. Wow, you realise that you've got a whole paragraph there, and now you've got to spit it out in sentences. But there's a huge amount of data there waiting to come out, and it does come out in reams and reams, doesn't it? And you didn't even think about it once. It just appeared there, and then it just took us the extra time to divulge that information. It's incredible. Consciousness is naturally non-local until there is, I guess, like the quantum physics people say, until there is an observer. And in the moment of observation, we become a singularity, a localized point of consciousness, which has the ability to go anywhere in the blink of a thought, at the speed of beyond any speed, really. You're just there because you were there. I've had sessions that confirm that to me myself, because I couldn't understand how I could be. You didn't just float gently through. You could have a bit of fun with it if you wanted to, but there's no excitement because you can't get harmed. It's insane. But yeah, consciousness itself is non-local. But souls are being created constantly, it seems. But there's so many just different dimensions and different layers to reality. There's more than enough. I mean, even in the ancient scriptures it says about the earth, we're going to get overpopulated. Well, the thing is, the ancient scriptures, when we go back, says that the earth is continually being made. And when you look at the volcanic islands around the equator, you notice that islands are being made on a massive scale, They're a bit warm still because they come from volcanoes. But people live on volcanic islands, all around that area. It's literally a hot spot. But, did they come here to be flattened by lava? No, not everyone did. It rarely happens that anyone does. So strange. And yes, souls. Is there more souls approaching the New Earth awakening? We'll have to go into that a bit deeper, because it is. I'll have to bring up another session where this creature was able to phase in and out of this reality. He could still see this reality. He was still a physical being, but he could just be stood in the woods, and you wouldn't even know he was there. Apart from the fact that it went completely silent. you know, because it kind of it seemed to own that dimension. And again, I come from these ET people, and ended up going into the back of the head of this creature, so, and which had this ability, and it lives on this realm now, you know. So yeah, there's so much that we don't know. But yeah, I've always tried to poo-poo this idea of layers of dimensions upon dimensions. But from what I've experienced now, in my own opinion, from what I've learned, that seems fully possible. How is a matter of consciousness and possibly intention until it becomes a natural thing. But yeah, there's no dimensions. I don't know if dimensions are shrinking and planets. I'm not sure that's allowed.
Allowed.
No, I'm not sure, because you might break
You're not
stuff.
allowing it.
It might break stuff, you know. I mean, the moon is a certain size for a reason. The sun is. If we start to shrink any one of those, I mean, from what I've learned, the moon doesn't control the tides.
Doesn't.
No,
Doesn't.
it doesn't.
You say?
It's a myth. It's a complete and utter myth, because, you know, they say, oh, it just doesn't, because you can have like two or three tides in a day. What, you know, and the moon be in the sky at the same. It's just moving gently through the sky, so then it doesn't seem to matter what phase it is. It's just a hologram, like the sun. But yeah, obviously I can't just say that without any evidence, but I do. Because it's true, you know. You can have 3 full tides in a two. I think it's 2 or 3 in a day. So, you know, and the moon was there all the time. It didn't get any closer or any further away. But it does control. In some creatures, it's much noticeable with mating. It can control mating. So like a full moon on a certain day, a million jellyfish get together, that sort of thing, you know. And they seem to know what day it is every single year. I mean, how the heck? It just happens to be that particular full moon at that particular time. Oh, less people everywhere and bigger. Yeah, okay. It's very Monty Python. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think souls are being created constantly, so yeah. You would think heaven would get smaller, more people would come here than the less people there. But it does seem that aspect, we're only an aspect of our whole consciousness projected down into this reality, or into our collective dimensions. From what I've learned, nothing would or should have changed, because we're still on the other side, if you know what I mean. We are still on the other side of life. There's a huge part of ourselves that isn't in the life, and never will make it into the life. There's some archangels that said, no, we're not taking lives, that's too dodgy. You know, we don't want to get caught. They know what it's like to get caught in the loop. They've spent a long time breaking their karmic loops and ascending to their level now, and I don't think, because it's a tough game to get out of. It's not easy to become spiritual, or to understand the consciousness and its power in this lifetime. Is that it's not, the chances of you coming across that path are very slim. But yeah, heaven, I don't think heaven's emptying. I think hell might be filling up a bit.
What gives you that impression, Chris?
Well, we've gone through a dark age that never stops, do it?
I know.
Ever since they mentioned the dark age, there it was, and it has never stopped, because there's always these people that are judgmental and looking down on people. They think they're better than other people. They think they deserve more than other people, and all this. But unfortunately, they're creating more educational life lessons for future lifetimes that are not really going to be pleasant. But like you say, they keep on going back until they learn that lesson. So, they get the chance every time. In every life, they're given everything they need, and they become conditioned. They lose themselves, which is, it's all understandable. We can't. That's why we have to pray for their soul, or send well wishes for their soul, that they have happy, long and healthy future lifetimes, and enlightened lifetimes. And in that respect, their future enlightened self can scan back through the past misdeeds and actually alter them in the now. They can alter them now. So, and they have that power. Once they realise that they will become enlightened, because your wishes are powerful, they have God power. But once they realise that they become enlightened, then it opens up the possibility that their future self can come back to their past self and, have a few words.
Have a word.
Have a word, get a brain. As a judgment. Is there such thing, John says, is there such thing as judgment from heaven or hell?
Is there only self-judgment as we decide to come back to learn and learn again? Surely they are train stops to continue your journey again once you've decided what you want to do next.
Yeah, you only judge yourself. There's never, has there, Gemma, been anyone sat there with a scythe in a dark hood with a face like a skull, waiting.
Oh no, I've had a skull, but nothing like.
Yeah, but that was cool.
Like that.
That was pretty.
Yeah, no,
cool.
that was cool. It wasn't. Yeah, no, it wasn't dark like the Grim Reaper type thing.
No, so, and there's no bearded man.
I've had no greeters from The Exorcist. No.
No bearded man on a throne, waiting to, give you a backhander and chuck you into the fiery pit. You never had one of those?
No, nothing like that, no.
No, so from...
Nothing but love and light, I'm afraid.
Yeah, which is really interesting. But yeah, there's definitely no judgment. It does seem that we have the ability to still feel shame. So if you've really harmed 1 billion people throughout your life, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you're gonna be... They get hit. They seem to get hit with some really bad... Because it all comes flooding back, or it seems so. I hear this mostly from people who have near-death experiences, where all of a sudden they are shown the horror of their ways, and they can literally feel the emotions and the stress and the distress that they have caused every single person simultaneously. They feel it all at once,
Yeah, and I've also heard that it's like much stronger as well. Like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You feel it. You
Yeah.
feel it. You feel what they felt.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's because we are pure souls once we've left, and once we've realised how much our true light has dimmed. You can feel that. My light dimmed after one. I thought it was pretty cool past life, but because other people looked dimly upon me, it dimmed my light, and I thought, I'm going to have another life and death to fix this light, so I did, but you're judging yourself. You are your own judge. Even Dolores said that, that you have the propensity, you have the capability to see where you went wrong, and now you're gonna bring balance again, at least. So yeah, that should be it. I think that's satisfied. I'm quite satisfied with that answer. Is that okay? Heaven or hell? Hell is a self-manifestation. Normally, it seems religious people. I mean, I've heard a lot of accounts, near-death experience accounts, which are just as valid, I believe, of say like a priest or a Catholic priest, and because they've conditioned their whole lifetimes that there are such concepts. So when we leave the physical form, we are fully capable of manifesting such a realm. And their fear, because we're bridging between two realms, certain other emotions can come in, and that is one of them. But shame is the deepest one that gets people's soul. They can dig themselves into a rut, which might cause problems for a few aeons. But you, as an eternal soul, you've got all the time in the is it universe? I'm not sure. You've got all the time on the other side. You can take your time. You can be there for many eternities until you realise that it was all right. It was just an education. Now you can fix it by bringing balance. They don't realise that they're not talking about reincarnation. That you're going to come back. That you can come back and fix it in future lifetimes. They just don't seem to be taught that. It's a great answer. There are a few people recently that will now, but receiving their judgment finally. Yeah, it's a self-judgment. They will know the difference between right and wrong there. Our normal in this realm gets changed, as I mentioned earlier on. Our sense of normal has been drastically altered, but as soon as you leave the physical form, balance, true balance, really starts to notice, and you notice how impure you are. You didn't even think about purity in the first place, but you do realize how impure you have become, that the soul has become tainted with potentially horrific future lifetimes. So
yeah, it goes through like a cleansing process, doesn't it?
yeah, yes,
Kind of like a repair,
yeah,
like going into a garage and getting upgraded and
yeah,
fixed and
yeah, totally.
harmonized and balanced and
It's true. Yeah, I've got nothing against the religions I just don't trust a book that was written by men. Now, as a um, historical document, there's some nuggets in there, some gold nuggets. So, especially in the Bible, and I'm not a thumper by any means, but it is interesting when we read Genesis and then realise how wrong most Christians have actually got the creation story. Even devout Christians who've been going to church forever. It's a science. People are unaware of the science. It describes the creation right from the beginning, and that's one of the most fascinating things that I found, because I always try to put things into a logical, scientific perspective. So if one thing has been created, then I want to know how. I need an understanding of how that actually works. And since I learned about electromagnetics and electronics, I do have a greater understanding of how this realm functions to a degree. I haven't got the ways or means to actually prove my hypotheses, but to me it's logical. We're in a machine, and our better half is outside of the machine still. It is like playing a bit. Imagine a 3D video game which is fully immersive. So immersive that you literally really do feel as if you are inside this realm living a life, you know.
Yeah, one of my clients got told they went to the place where you choose where you're going to be born and what year and everything like that. And just before they came down to Earth, the message that they were given by whatever being it was that was with them in that control room was, "Don't take it too seriously this time."
Beautiful. That was beautiful. I think we're going to have to finish on that note.
That's a great piece of advice for everyone out there. Just don't worry, you know, it's eternal.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we can drop all the other stuff. Life is life. We're not come here to die of a plague or anything like that. You know, the source has prepared us a long time ago. It actually knows the trickery of a man, and we've just been prepared for it. We just hope everyone gets through through it. But Johnny Boy, again, we'll go for the last bit. The Bible is written by philosophers and storytellers. Yeah, definitely philosophers, and I think some of it is Greek as well. Obviously, it's been butchered by politics, but yeah, I'm always fascinated. How could they know this? And then I have to prove something, you know. I mean, it describes like the heavens and what they're used for. The constellations are used to measure the seasons. The moon is used to measure the months. The sun is used to measure the days. And obviously after 12 months, that measures a year. So it's a huge clock up there that has never changed ever. But it's the only one.
Yeah, there is, but there's a lot that they've left out of the.
Oh my God!
Of like the Bible, isn't there?
I correct it myself. Yeah, I literally have. You know, they even put a curse in the back saying any of these words are changed or anything. Well, when you read the Genesis, you can't understand the stuff. It's all backwards and forwards and higgledy-piggledy.
Apparently, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and the Gospel of Philip is very enlightening and has a lot of what some would say like almost Buddhist type ideas in there.
Yeah.
You know, much more sort of spiritual in nature. I haven't looked at them personally, but I'll be interested to get to them at some point.
It is fascinating because they had Daniel in the lion's den, but they didn't mention Mary in the lion's den, where the female lion, there were 2 males and one, was there 3 males? There were 2 or 3 male lions in the story, and there was 1 female lion. Mary was chucked into the lion's den, into the pit of lions, and the female lion got up and stood in front of Mary and protected Mary from the males. So, you know, what a metaphor. You can imagine why some male chauvinist control freak would like to keep that out. You know what I mean? So yeah,
she was always portrayed as a prostitute when she did appear in any of the stories, but apparently none of it's true. She was meant to have been, you know, Jesus's wife, and she had his child, and she was very highly regarded among the disciples.
Yeah, and
she actually brought a lot of her own to it as well, and she was also an enlightened being.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's all very interesting.
It is, yeah. I've gone through over the Apocrypha, it's called, the books, the Dead Sea Scrolls.
The Dead Sea Scrolls, which has got the Keys of Enoch in it, hasn't it?
Oh my God, that is amazing. See, they removed it because it shows that what we've been taught with regards to creation is pretty much a lie, you know.
So should we are we going to finish the show on that note, which is science has limits.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll do that. It
Science
does, yeah.
has limits, and the universe is unlimited.
So using science is not really the best way to understand the creation. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that will bring us to the end. We've actually gone 30 minutes exactly over, so yeah, that should pretty much do. And we'll notify people of the next session.
Yeah, cool.
And look forward to answering more questions.
Right, thank you everyone. Over and out.
Bye.